friends in college 8 years ago. And Kelsey wasn't pursuing writing at the time, she was just auditing the class. And I was very much a film major and pursuing film. And she was one of my favorite writers from the class. We became friends, but I also just loved her writing. And so I asked to see more of what she was writing, and she shared about a donkey with me, and I loved it. I loved how sort of quirky and fun and sweet and inclusive it was. And we just kind of talked about it for years after that. We revised it together and talked about making it on a real budget, but 2016 rolled around and we decided to just do it. You know, it felt timely and it felt like the right project for us to work on at that time. So we crowdfunded it and shot it last year.
That's amazing. You used all the adjectives that I was getting ready. Inclusive, uplifting, inspirational, and quirky as well. All the things that I love about the film. And for the filmmakers who are here and our students, can you talk about how you went into making the feature project? And Christina is also from Seed and Spark, which is a really amazing platform for crowdfunding. So how did you go about making, because we feel daunted by the feature. Yeah. So how did you go from making a short film to an extraordinary feature?
Sure, so a big part, an advantage of the project is that we shot it in New York, but on Long Island, and I'm from Long Island, and I have a lot of extended family. And so all of the locations were houses of my extended family. Those were free. All of our locations were free, actually, through just sort of connections to people. My mom cooked for the shoot. We had free cars. Like, a lot of stuff was really community sort of derived. Like, because it is such a community-based film, and we were trying to engage people around sort of our mission about inclusion and all of that, we were able to get a lot of people to come on board and offer us stuff that we needed completely for free. So we crowdfunded the film, and that was largely just to pay everyone involved and for like production insurance and some of the boring parts of filmmaking. But yeah, it was, you know, we had worked on a lot together. We did a web series in 2013. I've done a ton of shorts, and so I just took a lot of that experience that I had from shorter projects and applied to this feature.
That's great. Do you want to add anything?
Well, this is also Christina's second feature, and I think it's also important to say we did a lot of shorts. So we had a crew that we most trusted, and that they worked with us very well. And I think that was a big part of the success of the behind the scenes here as well. Yeah, just having people in trust.
Yeah, absolutely. We met in school, and we also met, like, my assistant director, who's also the editor of the film. We all met in school. A lot of the people that we worked on this feature with were people that I worked on my first feature with, which was like my thesis project in college. And so we all kind of grew together. And I think that if there are any student filmmakers here, like, that's the advantage you have, is like finding your community here, finding your collaborators that you'll grow with. And, you know, we have like our cinematographer who works on much bigger projects now, and a lot of the people involved are working on much bigger things, but they always come back to collaborate with us, like, regardless of the budget, and on smaller projects, just because we love working together and we love collaborating.
Absolutely. So now I'd like to open it up to questions from the audience. Just raise your hand. Any questions? I know you have a question. Anybody? Yes, Lynn.
A donkey. So how did you go about getting a donkey? And did it at all terrify you to write a story that involved a donkey, knowing you had to get a donkey in order to make it?
Well, I don't know if you wrote it with the intention of making it at the time, but we actually got our donkey from a donkey sanctuary in upstate New York. We did a lot of research trying to figure out where there would be donkeys just to have, like, because they're not very common animals, I don't think, especially not in New York. And I was very particular about not I wanted to make sure that we had a donkey on set and it would be like safe, both for the donkey and for the people. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't just like exploiting an animal that maybe was being exploited by like a crappy petting zoo or something. Like I just wanted to make sure that there would be integrity in where we found the donkey. So we found a sanctuary upstate and we contacted them and we shared the script with them. And they really loved it and like loved the mission of the project, and they are very much about trying to encourage people to rescue donkeys because they do get slaughtered for meat actually. And just in general, they love the idea of like having a donkey as a pet. And so they also allowed us to use both donkeys actually. Donkeys are companion animals, so we had 2 on set, and then I decided to incorporate the second one into the end credits. That was completely free. Like we just covered their expenses, and we had a house for the donkeys and food and stuff. But they like offered their services completely for free, just because of the mission of the film as well. And it was my first time working with animals on set, and I very much wanted to make sure the donkey was never like performing, just kind of being a donkey, like grazing and walking and eating. And so the biggest challenge was just like continuity, trying to make sure that we got coverage, but also that we could cut around the donkey if she was like looking over here in one take and then wanted to be looking over here in the next. But yeah.
I was going to ask if the donkey had a double. That's amazing. What was her name? Or
Her
both
name is
their names?
Cinnamon and Susie.
Cinnamon and Susie.
Cinnamon is the
That's
main
awesome.
donkey.
Stars of the film.
Yeah.
Another question? Yes, right here.
Do you mind if I add?
Go ahead.
I'm
Yes,
sorry, I was just going to
absolutely.
say, it also, I feel like sometimes as a filmmaker, it's kind of like daunting to talk about your own projects, but this particular donkey farm we found because a friend emailed me a New York Times article about the sanctuary, and she's like, hey, I saw this, didn't know them, but maybe just reach out, and I did, and they were the ones who were like, we would love to be part of this.
Yeah, they're called Donkey Park Inc. And I should mention that what they do with the donkeys, they go to nursing homes and work with children who have like anxiety disorders and stuff like that, and they're actually like therapy donkeys. And so, and that's like sort of a theme of our film, and so just really perfectly aligned.
That's awesome. Yes, we had a question right here.
So I love the characters, and especially, what were your inspirations for the characters?
Thank you.
So I feel like most of these characters are definitely like combinations of family members of mine and people I've met, but definitely the mom figure. It's funny because when my mom watched it, she was like, it's not my mom, but it's her mom, and it was a combination just of people in my family pretty much.
Yeah, and then we spent a lot of time casting the project because we were working with non-union talent in New York and trying to find people that fit the roles but also looked like a family and just sort of were individually talented but also had chemistry. And so there was like a long collaboration process about like figuring out who these characters are and bringing them to life with all the actors in the film.
That's great. Do we have another question? Yes, on the top.
So I was reading that fantastic post describing how you raise the money to put the movie together and everything. And to read it, it feels like it's going to be one of those one-set kind of movies where everything is sort of based because you don't have any money, you've got to have everything together. But you made this feel like this really big movie. And in fact, it made me feel like how hard it would be. And now knowing that you shot it on Long Island, that all kind of fits together. So what are some of the things that kind of inspired you all, both story-wise and also production-wise, to make this film happen in such a large way with such a tiny little budget?
Well, thank you. Thank you for reading that post. If anyone goes to our website, congested.cat.com, the latest blog post is a breakdown of how we made the film on $20,000. So I made, my first feature was like a one location feature. It was made for just under $20,000. It was like set in a car and then a house for most of it and then the woods, but the house was sort of the biggest chunk. And I didn't want to do that again. This is also a very talky film. the characters just kind of, they talk to each other, and a lot of the humor comes from the dialogue. But I knew that could feel stale if you just had like characters talking in one location. Kelsey definitely wrote it with many locations in mind. Initially, the backyard wasn't as much of a space. I really wanted to have like quiet moments with the donkey, and so that wasn't quite in the script as much, and that was added to the film. But the locations were there because we kind of wanted to sort of develop each character based on their location, their home, and everything. And so that was the challenge, though, of our budget was like, okay, you know, we're shooting by location, and we also have different actors rotating throughout those locations. And so it was just a lot of very meticulous organizing between schedules of our actors and when we would be at the different venues. We did some like, you know, cheating where outside of Berg's newsroom, originally in the script that was like inside of a news studio, and that was not going to happen on our budget. So we just used like outside my apartment building and put up a poster and kind of turned it into that. And then just like around the corner was the outside of the prom scene when Cecilia and Berg are talking, and so that was sort of like one day we shot together. And so we did a lot of that where we kind of doubled locations if possible. And then, yeah, it was we would sleep over. We shot the film over 12 days, and it was 4 consecutive weekends, Friday through Sunday, and we would sleep over. So like we were gonna, you know, shoot in the main parents' house on Friday. We would all sleep there that night, and then wake up Saturday, and our lighting would already be set up and ready to go. And so that was like how we made the most out of our budget and our time.
That's awesome.
But it was really exciting because we cast Cecilia first, and then we kind of compared everyone with her. Everyone agreed with her, and then as we cast 3 siblings first, and then we added the parents. But that's actually Ricardo, who plays Paul, Annie's husband, was in my first feature, and he's in a bunch of my shorts, and so like we just offered him that role. There were a couple of other side characters where we just offered roles because we had worked with them before and we loved them. But the family, it was a lot of just like reading to test chemistry to see how certain people felt. And then once we decided on all of them, I would have we did a family brunch. I would have them, you know, go out to eat together as a family and try and like make them bond. Same with the people that played couples in the film, like I made them all go on dates so that they would get to know each other and have that chemistry. But that was sort of the longest process for us, was casting.
I love that idea of collaboration, especially with actors. I encourage that in my students here. I think we have time for one more question. One more, anybody? We can have a repeat offender. Yes, Lynn?
What's the one thing you wished you had done differently?
Oh man, I mean, there's obviously, you know, when you make a film, it's never exactly what you imagined it would be. You make sacrifices along the way in order to bring it all together. Yeah, I mean, there are certain technical things that I wish. A lot of it is budget related. You know, we paid everyone, but I wish I could have paid everyone much more. You know, when you're so close to something, we revised it so much, and then we also cut scenes. There were things that were cut that made sense in the script, but did not in the final product, and so it's just it's hard because you see what you wanted it to be and what it could have been, and I just try to embrace it and love it for what it is, and I think that, you know, everyone who worked on it brought something special to it.
Can I ask one more quick question?
Yes, you know you can.
What's next?
I can't say no to you.
What's next for each of you?
Oh, thank you. So we're hoping to screen this, you know, around through the rest of the year. We will be releasing it probably next spring on VOD platforms. But Kelsey just directed her first short last weekend that I produced. And I have a short that I'm shooting in July. That's just a small project for me. Really, I'm trying to get my third feature off the ground. My first feature was a horror film. This one obviously not a horror film, a comedy. But my third feature, I hope to be a horror comedy to blend them. So that's sort of where I am, is like focusing on how I'm gonna finance that. But you can find out all about us at congested.cat.com. I also have a pen and paper if anyone wants to sign up for our newsletter. We'd love to keep you updated on what we're doing.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to say that Kelsey and Christina are going to hang out with us. So please, if you have any questions for them or you want to follow About a Donkey on Instagram, and we wish you the very best as you begin your journey with this.
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
you so much for being here with us.
Thank
Let's
you.
give them another round of applause.